Welcome, everyone, to the first edition of TMoLR Texas Extra. Here we're going to be talking about the Christmas holiday. I hope everyone had a fantastic, wonderful, and safe Christmas holiday. You got everything that your heart desires. And we're going to talk about a little bit about what kind of happened to me during the Christmas holiday. There were some really cool events that happened, and we're going to go way more in depth on the Iron Claw movie that I saw this weekend. I saw it on the 23rd, and I did do a quick 7.5 minute review on Facebook as a little bit of a live kind of thing, but there was a few things that I wanted to go in more in depth on with that. But before we get to the Iron Claw, I do want to talk about a couple of things that happened during the Christmas holiday, and I was very blessed that I received a book that I didn't even know existed. And it's something that I'm going to be very anxious and excited to get into. I've got my nose in about 3 books right now. I don't want to add another one because I'll start getting things mixed up. But it's a book that's going to help me not only learn about a certain subject a little bit more, but it's going to really give me some ideas on places to go and visit throughout this project. And it is a book called The Bridges Over the Brazos. And like I said, I didn't even know this book existed. And it goes over pretty much every bridge crossing on the Brazos, starting all the way up in, we'll call it Central Texas, West Central Texas, Northwest Central Texas, whatever you want to call it, and goes all the way down to the very last crossing on Highway 36 there in Freeport. And this is going to give me some ideas on places to go and check out, see if there's any historical markers around those areas, and just get an idea of the vastness and the differences in the Brazos River from its beginning all the way to its end. And we've already done a pretty good little look into the southernmost part of the Brazos River. So I think it's only natural that we go to the north and check out that stuff. So this book is going to be very helpful in that, and I'm excited to get start reading that one. Now, my mother, who was born in Louisiana, is a big LSU fan, and I always give her all kinds of Hades when it comes to her beloved LSU Tigers. And on Christmas Eve, she asked me if I would be interested in opening a gift early. Told her it really wasn't necessary, didn't need that, I'm not a kid anymore type of thing. But I think she wanted me to open this one specifically. And the first one was, of course, the book. And then she said the other gift that's in there is a bit of a gag gift. So just to give you an idea of what she did here, it's an LSU Tiger pullover. And I was, I laughed, of course, but I was a little taken aback by it. And I was trying to think, when would I ever wear this? And I remember waking up this morning and a thought came across my mind that, you know, there is an opportunity for me to wear this LSU Tiger pullover. And I went up to my mother this morning and said, I figured out an idea of when I can wear this LSU Tiger pullover that you got me?" And she just kind of looked at me like, "Okay, when?" And I said, "Well, when LSU plays a specific team that is now or will be in the SEC. So when LSU Tigers play the Oklahoma Sooners, I will be wearing an LSU Tiger pullover." Yes, you heard me correctly. Other than that, you will not see me wear this anywhere. But on that specific date, when LSU plays Oklahoma, I will be sporting an LSU Tiger pullover, and I will be proudly wearing LSU Tiger purple and gold. So one other last thing that I want to, it's kind of an announcement, and it's kind of a passing the torch kind of moment. Over probably the past maybe 6-8 months, I have had a lot of issues going on with my hands, a lot of numbness going up into my elbow and into my shoulders. There's some issues going on there. Not 100% sure what's causing it, but it has really prevented me from doing one of my other passions, and that's playing drums. And I really can't even get through maybe 1 or 2 songs, and my hands are very painful, very stiff. I start to lose a little bit of sensation, a lot of tingling, some burning going on, burning sensation. And it's become quite evident that I can't do it to the ability that I think I should be at. So this past, or actually last night, we had a little get together at my cousin's house, and his youngest daughter, Jenna, was standing right next to me as I'm attempting to play along with songs, like Curtis Lowe and stuff like that with my other 2 cousins, Jace and Jake. And I just got reminded I can't do this, and it became very painful. And Jenna made it very clear, and she said it once before too, that she does want to learn how to play drums, and she wants a drum set. So she asked if she could play on the kit. Absolutely, jump on it, And I showed her a few things on there, like a simple 4/4 beat, doing the kick on the 2 count and the snare on the 4 count, and the hi-hats keeping your 1, 2, 3, 4. Just something very simple to start off with. And she was doing quite well, but I think I was making her nervous because I was kind of bird dogging her a little bit. And I told her, just beat on it, and she was being very tentative with it. And I said, hit them. You're not going to break it. Just hit them. And I let her just go at it, and she's actually shown a lot of promise with that. She had some pretty decent rhythms going on when I just kind of left her to her own devices and started to think a little bit. And I went up to her after about maybe her on there for 20 minutes, and I figure if a 9-year-old is still beating on a drum kit after 20 minutes, and you could see that she was really trying to do something good on these. She just wasn't beating them for the sake of beating them. I walked up to her and I said, "So I got 2 questions to ask you." And I said, if you had a drum kit that was yours, that you could keep here at the house, would you actually practice it? And what I meant by practicing is learning rudiments and the fundamentals, and not just plugging your phone through Spotify and just playing along with other songs. And she said, yes, I would. I said, okay. Now, the second question, which is the more important question, is if you have the drum set and you say you're going to practice your drum set, and learn what you need to learn to become good, you can't let your grades fall. Would you promise me that you would keep your grades up? This young lady is an AB student. And she said yes. And I know her parents would make sure that her grades stayed up. And it don't take, her father's, my cousin is probably twice the size that I am, and it's not going to take any effort at all to remove that drum set out of her room. But she said yes. So I walked up to my cousin and said, hey, I can't play like I want to anymore. It hurts. Would you mind if I just gifted the drum kit to Jenna? And he said, are you sure? And I said, yeah. And I left the entire drum kit with her. She got part of it was over at my uncle's house. The rest of the drum kit was delivered this morning to her. Double pedal, sticks, drum keys, extra chords, all that great stuff is there for her to use. So it was kind of bittersweet because I'm done with being behind a drum kit. I can't devote any time to it, and I can't play, physically can't play like I feel like I should or want to. And if I can pass the torch to her and she becomes better than I do, even in the slightest, I would be more than happy with that. So that was probably the best moment of the Christmas holiday so far, was just watching her face light up. And I did get the "you're already her favorite, what are you doing" kind of look and statement. And I said, I'm not doing it to be her favorite. I'm doing it because she's shown promise. So that was kind of an announcement that I'm no longer going to be playing drums, and that I'm passing the torch to young Jenna, and she's gonna take it to the next level, hopefully, and I know she will. All right, so enough about that. Again, I hope everybody had a fantastic Christmas. Now, on to the Iron Claw. So, I did start off that review stating that the AMC Theater there in Lake Jackson, AMC 14, there at Lake Jackson Mall, or Brazos Mall, really needs to do a better job on making sure that their theater is well maintained, is clean, and the seat that I chose, they have reserved seating and all that stupid mess. The seat that I had was broken. Unfortunately, there were only, I want to say, counting myself, there were only 2 or 3 other people in the theater for that movie, and that I didn't take that as a good sign. But regardless, it did not take away from my enjoyment of the movie. But the AMC theater there needs to do a way better job than they did on that night. With the movie, I did say that I did enjoy the movie. I was emotionally drained upon leaving the movie. I did, in the previous brief review, talk about a couple of the things that I thought were wrong or bad. I cannot stress enough that the individual who was picked to play or portray Ric Flair did an absolutely horrendous job and did zero justice to Ric Flair as a professional wrestler, as an ambassador of pro wrestling. He was not even in the ballpark when it came to promos. I'm not going to talk about the ring work. These are not trained professional wrestlers that were doing this. It's The look was downright horrible. The appearance of this gentleman as Ric Flair was again not even in the ballpark. The only thing that made you think it, or could make you think it was Ric Flair, was the robe. And those robes, Ric Flair had so many of them. You know, it's not hard to emulate one of Flair's robes. So I do also want to kind of reiterate that I did say something about Maxwell Jacob Friedman, the current AEW World Heavyweight Champion, getting maybe 10 seconds of screen time, and you see his face and maybe 2 seconds of that. He was also executive producer of this movie, and I had read in a couple of articles that a lot of his scenes were cut. A lot of his screen time was cut, and I think it kind of took away not only from MJF as a potential budding movie star, having a potential career outside of wrestling when he's done, but it took away from part of the story as well. So those were the two big things that I took away from the movie as either just horrendous or just kind of took me aback. I didn't necessarily agree with. Now, again, the acting of Fritz Von Erich, Kevin, Mike, Carrie, and David, those actors, and the mother were fantastic. Pam, the Kevin Von Erich's wife, the woman who played Pam, did an outstanding job as well. I applaud all of them. I still am a little bit shocked at how well the gentleman who played Harley Race portrayed Harley Race. The look was almost uncanny. The demeanor, everything. This guy had put in time to study Harley Race and his mannerisms, his promo cadence, and everything like that. He nailed it. He was 100% spot on. And again, Zac Efron was amazing in his portrayal of Kevin Von Erich. Again, the guy was built like a tank. He was great. One thing that really stood out too and was the portrayal of Fritz Von Erich. Now, and I mentioned in the previous review that I felt that Fritz, I didn't know much about Fritz. He did kind of seem like a very gruff, very harsh kind of man that translated into his abilities as a father, very strict, held his boys to a higher standard. But I still didn't know how to feel about Fritz. And upon watching the movie, and I do understand that a lot of these, based on true events or historical type movies, do have creative license and things may be embellished or omitted or things like that. But the way that Fritz was portrayed, I walked out of the movie thinking that Fritz Von Erich was an individual that did not take responsibility for his own shortcomings as a pro wrestler, as a promoter, and as a father. I felt that he would deflect a lot of criticism away from himself and deflect it onto other people. Most notably, one portion of the movie, he basically just throws Kevin under the bus, and it didn't set well with me. I didn't have a um, I didn't have a really good male role model growing up, but I had enough strong men around me to see what, how a man should accept responsibility for his actions. And if he messes up, take responsibility, own up to it, and remedy the situation and press on. Move on from it. I don't think that Fritz did a very good job of that. At least how he's portrayed in the movie. Now, this I guess the word allegedly would come up, but another thing that I felt that kind of takes away from the story, and there were several of these, to be honest with you, that took away from the story, because I know it focuses on the Von Erichs, but World Class Championship Wrestling was the Von Erichs. That's part of their legacy. And the death of David, there was a lot of accusations that David died of a drug overdose. There were also reports from Japan that he died of a ruptured intestines. Now, there's a little bit of a lead up. You kind of get an idea that David does have some gastrointestinal issues going on, but it seems to, again, it kind of directs you down the road the movie wants you to go in, and it really didn't portray the outpouring of love and respect that not only other wrestlers in the NWA and even in other non-NWA affiliated territories and federations felt about David. Because at his funeral, it seemed like, and I might be exaggerating a little bit here, but it seemed like probably a third of the Dallas-Fort Worth area was at the funeral. This was a massive turnout for David Von Erich's funeral. And this kind of started that free fall for the Von Erichs. Once David passes, and they do a little bit of the service, but it seems like that the deaths or the injury to Kevin, the death of Mike, and then the death of Carrie just were rushed, and you really don't understand, especially if you're not familiar with what's going on or what went on with the Von Erichs. You're left with a lot of questions. And maybe I can answer a few of those. With Carey, he had the motorcycle accident, lost his foot. He did rehabilitate, and he did wrestle with a prosthetic foot for the rest of his in-ring career. And really, if you didn't know, a lot of people wouldn't have picked up on it. And once I learned that, I would go back and watch Kerry Von Erich matches, and you could definitely see that one foot did not move, and he didn't run the ropes a lot and things like that. And I'm not saying this to be nasty, but Kerry was not the most gifted in-ring performer. His promos were lackluster at best, but he was probably the best looking physically of all the Von Erichs, and he was definitely the most genetically he had the body of an Adonis. He was a world class discus thrower. He was going to be an Olympian until the United States decided they were going to boycott the Moscow Olympics. So that took that dream away from me. And I don't think Kerry really wanted to get into professional wrestling. And Fritz went out of his way to push as many of his sons into professional wrestling as he could. And it was so Fritz could live his dreams vicariously through his sons. But Kerry's accident, he loses his foot. He does make it to the big time. He goes to the WWF at the time and has substance abuse issues, gets fired, and which leads to his or his offing of himself. But you don't really get that in the movie, and I think that kind of takes away from the importance of his demise. Also, with Mike, the shoulder injury and the toxic shock syndrome post surgery that put him in a coma. Mike, once he came out of the coma, the fever that he had run, I want to say it was like 107, 108, and it was for a prolonged amount of time. He was never right mentally or physically after that. I believe the toxic shock syndrome and the subsequent damage to his brain really affected his physical and mental abilities. Now, he did try to get back in the ring after he had recovered somewhat from his toxic shock syndrome, but he was never the same. The muscle tone was gone. It seemed to be more of a blank kind of emotionless look to his face. And in many of his matches, I think he should have never tried to come back into the ring. And I don't think Mike really ever wanted to do that. Again, I think it was Fritz that kind of pushed him in that direction. And the self-harm that occurred from it just it became, at that point, it became evident that there was something going on with the Von Erichs, and the wrestling fans of World Class Championship Wrestling had I think especially after Kerry, they had stopped coming to the Sportatorium, and the attendance had really just gone almost to nothing, and where you would have 4,000 screaming, sweating fans in this god-awful hot Sportatorium arena and not caring, but they were there for the Freebirds, the Von Erichs, Gino Hernandez and Bruiser Brody and Gentleman Chris Adams, Coco Beware, all of these great wrestlers that were associated with World Class. They're kind of, you don't hear about Gentleman Chris Adams, or you don't hear about guys like Eric Embry, or, you barely see Bruiser Brody, Gino Hernandez, because Kevin and Gentleman Chris Adams had a massive, massive rivalry in the mid 80s. And this was getting pretty close to the end of World Class's tenure under the Von Erichs. And the last thing that I think that really was overshadowed when you're just talking about the promotion, and the reason that a lot of fans really started to go away was the inclusion of Lance Von Erich into the Von Erich clan, and saying that he was a distant cousin when he was in no way, shape, or form related to the Von Erichs. And once that secret got out, a lot of the fans were like, okay, now now Fritz is he's lying to us. And because these fans had stood behind this family as much as pro wrestling fans could. And at that point, many of them had just had enough. You're telling us to vote or to cheer for this guy that you're saying is a Von Erich, but he isn't a Von Erich in no way, shape, form, or fashion. He's not a brother. He's not a cousin. He's not an ancestor. He's not anything when it comes to the Von Erichs. And the fans had enough. And there is a scene where you can see that for the most part, the crowd is gone. And out of a 4,000 seat arena, there were times, I think, World Class on a Friday or Saturday night, if they had 100 people in that arena, it was good. It was a good night. And a lot of that leads up to that, it plays a role in the demise of the creation of that Von Erich World Class Championship Wrestling. That's part of their legacy, is world class. And that was kind of brushed over. You didn't really get any kind of insight into that. Also, there was an older brother that's older than Kevin, Jackie or Jack Jr., and he was taken from this world. I believe it was a lightning strike that took him from the family. And then you have Chris. Chris was the youngest of the Von Erichs, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he had some type of bone defect where his bones were very fragile. He tried to get into the wrestling business, but just, he was shorter. He didn't, it's going to sound bad. I don't mean it in a bad way, but he just didn't have the talent. He didn't have the ability to perform to that Von Erich level. And I believe that he also ended his own life. So out of the 6 boys, only one remains, and that's, he was the second oldest, and that's Kevin. And the one thing that really just, I think, saves the movie on an emotional level is the ending of it. And you have all of this doom and gloom and talk of the curse and everything like that. And to see that Kevin Von Erich had been able to walk away from that curse and create what he ultimately wanted. And that was a family and a place where everyone in his family could stay. And he accomplished that goal spectacularly. And to see Kevin Von Erich still walking the earth today brings a smile to my face. It kind of puts the faith back in humanity. There are people still in this world who are good people that are focused on family and support family. And again, at the end of the day, this movie is about that brotherly love aspect. And these 4 brothers, Kevin, David, Kerry, and Mike, at all times throughout their lives, they had each other's back. Even when they had disagreements, even when one may have felt wronged, they always had their brothers back and stood behind them 100%. So at the end of the day, this is a movie that I think every wrestling fan should take time to see. I would I would like for it to be that dark horse of a movie that comes out of nowhere and everybody thinks, oh, okay, if it does, $50 million in revenue, that would be great. I want to see this movie just exceed every critic's expectation and maybe even be nominated for an Academy Award or something like that. I think Zac Efron 100% should be in the running for some type of Academy Award. I think his performance was just stellar in this movie. And as a wrestling fan, again, I think you should see it. And you do get there is a lot of things to learn about the Von Erichs, and especially with Kevin and Pam. But even if you're not a wrestling fan and you like those movies that test you emotionally, that grab you by your emotions and just hold on to them, and you walk out, if you like those type of movies, definitely go see The Iron Claw. And of course, another thing that was kind of omitted was the Freebirds. I mean, that was the big draw for World Class Championship Wrestling, especially in the early 80s, was the Von Erichs versus the Freebirds. And there had to been some interaction between those two groups of pro wrestlers, those two groups of performers. And I would like to know what was the backstage scene kind of like between the Freebirds, Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, Buddy Roberts, and at times Jimmy Garvin and how they interacted with the Von Erichs and how they came up with their matches and things like that. I think that would have been a great addition to the movie to kind of give you an idea of, how these things happen backstage and how things are planned out. I think that would have been something great to add in there. But the movie, I do give it a thumbs up. It's a movie that when I walked out, I said I'll probably never watch this movie again, just because I'm not a fan of having movies that test me emotionally in that way where you almost feel depressed coming out of it. I said the same thing about The Passion of the Christ. After the first time I saw it, I'm like, I will never, ever watch that movie again. And I proved myself to be a bit of a liar on that one, because I saw it a second time, and it's not to enjoy the movie, because that's not a movie you enjoy. It's a it was something I needed to really just kind of push my faith a little bit and reaffirm it. And with the Iron Claw, I mean, I won't see it. I'll probably, if I see it again, it won't be for probably another 3, 4, 5 years before I see it again. But I do believe that anybody who enjoys those types of movies, or anyone who is a pro wrestling fan and wants to see what it is about these Von Erichs, you definitely need to go and see this particular movie. So, okay, I'm going to get off my high horse with the Iron Claw. But again, it's the night of Christmas, and I want to thank everybody. We're coming up on the end of the year. I did get a little bit more footage for part 2 of the San Bernard, and I've got 3 stops now on this upcoming video, and I want to also take this opportunity to thank everyone for taking time to check out these videos. If you are a subscriber, the 10 of you that are a subscriber, thank you very much for doing that. That means the world to me. that you have faith enough in me to give you good content and become a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber and you like what you see, please consider just tapping that subscribe button and becoming a subscriber. But if you don't and you just watch the videos, I'm cool with that too. And thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for doing that. So until we talk again like this on these extra episodes, everyone have a happy New Year celebration. Be safe. No drinking and driving. No DUIs or anything like that. If you drink, make sure that you've got a designated driver. Call a Uber, call a Lyft, call a friend, call a parent, somebody to come pick your butt up and take you home, so you know you get there safe and you're protecting other people on the road as well. And we'll see you. We'll see you on the. I guess that would be the 30th of. Yeah, I guess it'd be the 30th. This coming Saturday for San Bernard River Part 2. And until next time, this is Little Rach out.